And we are live. Yes. Hello. Good morning.
Morning, guys. Thanks for coming.
Let me just tweet that we are live.
Yep. Me too. I'll post a page. So exciting. Thanks for inviting me here.
Of course. Hang on. We are live. Come join us. Wait, I'm gonna
Sure.
post it too on. No, thanks.
Ayun, nakapost na siya sa Tablay page.
Yeah, let me just let me just yeah, I'm gonna share it to my Instagram too. Hang on. Oh my god, it's not
Sure.
loading. Sige kahit mamaya na. um So yeah, good morning, guys. I'm here today with I'm a lot less tipsy than I was last night. I'm here today with Kat Olan, the author of the indie sci-fi book Tablay,
Okay.
and today we've got our coffee, and we are going to be talking about yes, and we are going to be talking about Tablay, the process of writing it, the thoughts that went into how she created the book, and even sci-fi pop culture and all of things like that. And to the people watching, if there's anyone out there watching, if you have any questions, go on ahead and leave them in the comments. If you can't make the live stream, this live show will be available on YouTube right after, so you can go ahead and watch it if you aren't able to catch it at this time. All right, so I guess we can start. Uh, all right, so Kat, good morning, and thank you so much for coming on to my channel this morning. Let's start with tell us a little bit about your book. Well, you yourself as a writer and your book, and if you have any upcoming projects, go ahead and promote them.
Okay. So hi guys, my name is Kat. So Kate, thanks so much for inviting me. Oh, sobrang ganun. Okay. My name is Kat, so this is super casual. By day, I'm an advertising copywriter. I work at Dentsu. I'm a Saifu, so it's an ad agency. So I'm a writer by profession talaga, but I focus more on commercial scripts, scripts for TV, film, and radio. So that's what I do for some brands. Uniqlo, Century Tuna. Yes. Your favorite brands. Yeah, I know. Love Uniqlo. Okay, so by night I do a lot of other extra hustles. Like I do a lot of racket, especially now since we need the extra dough. You know, we got to get that bread. I also do a lot of creative projects. I sell my book. I love making more content for my book. I'm also a Dungeons and Dragons DM, so I host a lot of D&D games on the weekends and other RPGs. So yun, that's who I am. So my book is Tablay. So it's a Filipino sci-fi novel which brings together mecha and Philippine mythology. So yun.
Are there any plans for a sequel or more from the Tablay universe or other books? Secret?
So currently, as you know, baka book 2 will need a lot of research because, you know, we're really expanding, you know, the universe. That's all I can say. We have this upcoming thing for August 31, which is National Heroes Day, Araw ng mga Bayani. So stay tuned for that because it's really exciting because we're translating a part of the book into Filipino. So I did the translation and we have some of our voice actors to like dish it out. So that's exciting.
That's cool. Wait, so it's gonna be like an audio book, a show, a radio show?
It's a segment of the book that's translated in Filipino. Tapos I wrote the script for it. Tapos we have our voice actors to do it.
Oh, that is so cool. That is really cool. So where would people be able to listen to this? Like on YouTube, Twitter?
It's on our Facebook page. I'll also put it on our IGTV. And then Twitter. If kaya siya ng 2.5 minutes, it's a 2.5 minute video.
Great. So I will be including links to that when I update the description box of this live show after we finish. That sounds really cool. And personally, I am all for like translations of works. I'm pretty sure if anyone out there was watching last night, we translated a bunch of lines from a romance novel, and it was really wild. So, but I feel like yours would be like a more serious translation because our translations last night were very gago. So yeah.
Yeah. See, Anna, I consulted my, well, because I have like these writing mentors, syempre, like the writers would have their own writing dads. So I have two writing dads. See Dr. Joem Antonio. If you know him, he's also a Palanca. He's a Palanca winning author. Sorry, playwright. And then my Filipino writing dad, who is Juan Ekis. He's also a Palanca winning poet, basically. So they're professors at my school, basically. So I come to them for advice, like how do I translate this? You know, like I feel like I asked Juan Ekis for advice. Like I feel like my translation was a bit too literal. Is there any way that we could, you know, like look at the lines to make it more suave, like that other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really
Wait,
an
sorry,
art.
I'm really curious. What school did you go to?
University of Asia and the Pacific, UANP.
Oh,
Yeah.
in Pasig.
Ortigas. Yeah.
Ortigas, right. Pearl Drive.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah.
Small school, as in you pass the same people like 10 times a day because the campus is so small.
Yeah. I'm very familiar with the what's the Tapsilog place in that area. I am very familiar with the Tapsilugan because that's where I eat after I drink.
Is that Rufus?
Yes, Rufus.
Yeah, Rufus, yeah. Yeah, that's a bit of a walk. But there's also really good Tapsilugan sa when you exit, there's like yung mga karinderya areas, they serve the best sisig there. The best sisig and beer.
Karinderya, yeah. Karinderya is the best. Oh, if Tablay sequel happened, I would die.
Yeah, just wait for it. I mean, I'm really planning because, as you know, am I allowed to? No, it's not. Let's just say the book is open to translate. I mean, it's open to interpretation sa ending. So definitely, I'm really thinking of making a sequel. It's just that, I really value research a lot, especially when you're representing different cultures and traditions. So I have to make sure that it's sound and it's respectful. So before delving into anything else, yeah.
Yeah, I actually I love it when authors do that, and when research and accurate, respectful representation is a priority of authors. I love it when that happens. And actually, which sort of leads me to my next question, and you kind of went into it a little bit. So, you mentioned you had two writing dads, and then you mentioned all the research that you had to do. So tell us a little bit about like the team behind Tablay. I mean, who helped you write it? Who helped you get it off the ground? And in the book, there was some really good like art in some of the pages. So who illustrated that?
Okay.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about the team.
Okay, so I'm the writer, but I have a very robust team. So we're around 7 actually. So this is me, and then I have 6 people in my creative team. So first, I have my editor. Her name is Mylene Soriano. It's cool because so indie publishing is very different from normal publishing, as you realize, because you really go through all of the hustles of production. As in, I had to be the one to find who my editor was. I laid out the book myself. I also funded the book myself, so which is why there were a lot of constraints actually, especially with the page count. Like honestly, I would have wanted to make the book so much longer and so much more fleshed out. It's just that at that point, medyo gipit ako sa pera, so I had to make a lot. It's like having a budget for movies. I mean, you want to put so many things in the movie, but due to budget constraints, you have to cut a lot of scenes to make sure that it's still full, but sana, that's why I was thinking additional content, like mga short zines which can fill up those those patches in the book. So I have my editor, Mylene. She's really good. When I was looking for an editor, kasi I wanted to make sure that first she was a woman, and second, that because there's a lot of things na that especially when it comes to the dapat may heart siya. So I had to find someone who was good enough to actually feel the soul of the story, but at the same time, she had to be very technical. So I actually looked for a scientist. So did you know that? So Mylene is
I did not
actually
know that.
So when I was searching, so I go to rocket.ph, that's where you get the rockets. And that's where you find the editors. So I was like, editor. I was very picky with finding who my partner was for editing. She had to have a science background, and at the same time she had to have a creative writing background. So I found some editors that were both skilled in creative writing and technical writing, because I needed the technical writing part for the science fiction part. I mean, I'm quite like aware of the words and the terms, because I mean I also my work also involves a lot of digital, so I do a lot of digital marketing. So in terms of learning what the jargon is, I'm medyo proficient in that. But I needed someone who could point down the red flags. Let's say, for example, apparently when it comes to energy waves, wavelength and frequency are two different things. So that's why all these little details that make the world building a lot better. She had to be the one to point it out. So she's like, Kat, wavelength and frequency are not the same thing. I was like, okay, ganun pala. And then so sabi ko, okay, like I would throw the idea or the concept to her, and then she would tell me if it's scientifically sound. So I like, what if, like, you know how Bakunawa works, right? So basically it's an electromagnetic hyper targeted bomb that would, so basically she's like my tech consultant. So I'll be like, Mylene, is this possible? You tell me. And then she'd be like, oh, pwede na yan. Okay, that's like realistic but still believable, but it's still kind of sci-fi, so it can work. So like what a Faraday cage is. Yeah.
Sorry, just to add though, like she did a really good job, because that was something that I really loved about the book. Like normally I hate it when jargon is super present in a book. But the way that Tablay was written, it had just the right amount of jargon to make it feel, you really get the feeling of it being a mecha book, but it was not enough that it detracted from the story. That was one of the things that I felt Tablay did really well. So you guys did a really good job on that, I feel. I really
Thank
felt
you.
the whole it blended well. It was full of tech terms, but it wasn't the kind of full of tech terms that would make me go like, oh, skip, skip, skip. So it was really good.
Yeah,
I really,
yeah.
really enjoyed it. Sorry,
Thanks so
continue.
much. Yeah, so I mean, I agree with that. Like, in terms of my writing style, I'm very pragmatic. Like, I don't really care about flowery words. Like, if you can hit it, but it makes an impact, yes, go do that. Like, um, what do you call that? Especially, I guess, since I'm from an advertising background, I guess my work, I mean, my work style kind of bled over to my writing style. Because, like, especially when you're writing scripts for work, it's like, okay, so I write my script, I show it to my boss, our ECD, our executive creative director. Tapos sabi niya, Kat, the words are so flowery. Like, who's going to understand this? Like, if you can say a message and it's straight to the point, but it makes so much impact, just do it. So, like, and then that's the kind of mentality that I brought, especially with the fact that it's only like 154 pages. So you just like get right into the meat of it and then just blow it up. So aside from Mylene, we have our two awesome artists for Tablay. So the first one is Paul. He's the first artist that I reached out to for the aswang design. So he's the one that designed all these cool mecha tikbalangs, and then the
Yeah.
tikbooks. Yes. Okay, it's such a funny story because like I had a tight timeline for Tablay. Like my pre-writing phase was around 9 months, so that's the time that I did a lot of research talaga. Like I did everything from I really talked to mga environmentalists. I really talked to when I went up to Baguio. Here, wait, I'll get the book. There's a lot. I researched a lot of source materials, like especially written by like people from the community. So I got a lot of local books there about the struggles. I also studied, actually, when it comes to pop culture, I didn't study much pop culture because I knew that if I studied that, it would fall into the same tropes and equations, I guess. What I did was I studied a lot of World War I and World War II books because I super love that. Like I read a lot of, wait here. I'm sorry, all my source books are here because my mini library is here. I went to Cubao Expo to find all these obscure mga documentations of what happened to ay baliktad. Yun. Ganon na, like shepherds of the underground. So all of these interesting recollections of what happens to them in World War I and II. So yun, with that, I had this whole vision of mecha Philippines in mind, and I said, who can really bring this to life? The thing about drawing mecha kasi is that it's so hard. It's not just like drawing people. I mean, you rarely find mecha artists, right? I mean, especially when you go to Comic Con, most of them are like characters and like people.
Yeah.
But then I was like, shit. So 9 months for pre-writing, and then I set a strict deadline for myself that I would hustle writing the manuscript in 4 months. So I wrote that in 4 months. Basta tak 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 tak, just like go for it because that's how you do it. And then you have to edit like a cold hard bitch for like 5 months. So that's what I did. So while that was happening, like so imagine all of these things are happening at the same time. While you're writing, you have to find the artist, and while you have to find the artist, you have to find the layout artist. So that's really the struggle of being an indie author. Like you're the producer, you're the social media manager, you're the writer, the marketer, and all that shit. So I was like 3 months, I know 4 months into completion. Like I had to get the book out by the end of the 4th month. I was like, shit, I'm running out of time. What am I going to do? So I went to Comic Con. I was boothing at Comic Con. And I was like, okay, by today I have to find an artist for my book. I literally went to each table of Comic Con to look at the artist. I was like, okay. Oh yeah, we have to find an artist like right now. So I was really going through every single table. Tapos nakita ko, oh my God, this guy is so magaling. As in, I saw this guy who was like, what's that? It was just one print of this really nice, I wish I had a picture of it, but it was a picture of this really nice drawn mecha. But what I liked about it was that it looked organic. It kind of felt like a Horizon Zero Dawn, like if you're familiar with that. Like it's a mix of, it's like a biomechanical sort of creature. And I was like, this is interesting. So I went up to the booth. I was like, sinong gumawa nito? Itong print na to. Tapos sabi na, ay, and then he's like, ma'am, ito po siya. So he was like an artist. Like, you know in cons, when artists have to eat, they hide under the table to eat, right? So
Yeah.
so I looked over, and then here was this guy. He was just eating, and he was like, huh? like with a spoon in his mouth. I was like, did you do this? Sabi niya, oo. Sabi ko, gusto mo ng racket? As in, I literally went up to him. I was like,
I'm sorry, pero that sounds like the opening of like a rom-com.
as in, sobrang comedy talaga. As in, I was so desperate. I was like, gusto mo ng racket? As in, sabi niya, okay. and that's literally how our friendship started. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna give you my number, and then like in the next few days, I gave him the brief. So as part of advertising, din, what's super special is that we do briefs, right? I mean, even for production, you have to give you gotta have a brief of like what the idea is, basically the long story short. And with that, I really made sure that these people had their own freedom to interpret what I meant by it. So like I wasn't really like I like also surprising myself in a sense. So I didn't really make them. I wasn't really like a helicopter mom that said, "Okay, you do this, you do that, make sure it's like this." I just gave them a vague summary of what I wanted the aswangs to look like. Tapos bahala sila, and like I was super happy because like they really came up with really good stuff. So Paul made the tikbalang first. So this one he made the tikbalang first. So when I got it, I really like screamed because I was so happy for it. And then so we have the tik-tiks din, so yun. And then the capres, and then the nunos, and then the fifth one, which is a secret because you can't you have to read the book. It only like comes out at the end of the book.
Again,
Yeah. So you have to figure out what that is, guys, because you have to buy.
You have to buy. If you want to figure out what the last one was, you gotta buy the book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's how you do it.
that is how you
And
do
then
it.
sorry, we were a big team. So the second artist is Mark Gallio. He's the one that designed the mechs, as in the Mech Force mechs. Love them, love them. Funny
Can I just
story.
say that I love the name San Telmo. Like when I saw
love
that it was named San Telmo, I legitimately went like, "Oh my god!" I love that.
Yeah. So what I mean, the fun part about like thinking about these things is how to translate them, no? Like it's really looking at it's like I said, research is so important. So it's like researching what is the lore and what really is the core of like a San Telmo, or what is the core of a Diwata. So when you figure out that folklore and that lore talaga, your brain kind of uses its cogs to like, okay, if this were a mecha version of it, like what would it have, right? And then like example, San Telmo by lore is a ball of fire which is known as the spirit of this dead soul that's trying to find its peace, right? So basically, how would we project that into a mecha version of itself? And I was like, flamethrower. Right? I mean, flamethrower. How else are we gonna project the fire? Diwata, but the San Telmo and the Diwata had to be foils of each other, because like you can't fight the enemy if like you're all tanks, right? You gotta have a healer, you gotta have a DPS, you gotta have support. So I mean, if we're talking video game terms, so if everyone were tanks, then who's gonna fight from range? That's why I figured out if San Telmo was the tank, Diwata had to be the range. So Diwata was more sleek. It had wing thrusters. It could attack from an angle with micro missiles. So ganon yung effect niya. So Mark did a really good job. We were actually schoolmates, but he was a few batches lower. But he actually, it was his second course na. He first took animation. He actually did a lot of art for Ragnarok and other video games. So he's a video game and animator. And then I was listening to his pitch because he was consulting me about some marketing stuff. And I was like, Mark, gusto mo ng racket?
I'm bringing this comment back because it's funny.
Okay, so like if you listen to the Pop Mug podcast, 15 minutes into my discussion, Mark was like, I was getting heads and tails about what Kat was trying to tell me because she was telling me the story, but I wasn't sure where this conversation was going. The bottom line is I was trying to recruit him for my team because I was running out of time. But ayun, it went through around 3 passes and it was really good. Then the other two artists, so Joey made the cover and Gia made the art, the map, the world map. We did this in 24 hours before we submitted it to the printer. Shit. Sobrang clutch. As in, okay, like I'm not gonna lie, like I don't sugarcoat anything. Everything here was rushed. Like, so imagine, so Joey and Gia are both art directors in my agency. They're my partners at work. So guess what the magic words were at the office? Gia, gusto mo ng racket? Sobrang lahat naman. As in, like, everything. I was like, so imagine in between work, so we do work, right? It's like, okay. I was like, Joey, can we align? Sige. So we would hide because this is illegal, right? You can't do freelance work like outside work. I mean, you can, but you just don't get caught. That's the point of it. It's only illegal
Yeah.
if you get caught.
Yeah.
so so
And you
so
just said this in public on a live show, so
oh yeah. Hopefully none of my bosses are watching. So Louis, I'm so sorry, but I did this in between work. Like especially the meetings, right? We'd have these meetings with clients. And then as in like at one point tumawag si Miss Hazel. So she's the publishing assistant at Central Books. So I was like in the middle of a meeting, and then after that the phone rang. I was like, shit. I was like, CR muna ako ah. So I was like, CR, and then after that, I was like, hello. Kamusta na? Kasi sobrang, imagine even the day before the book launch, we were stressing over one of the commercials because they couldn't get the edit right. So I was there until like 9-10 p.m. just waiting because we have to wait for direct to get the final cut out. And then my boss was like, Kat, don't you have a book launch tomorrow? I was like, yes, I have a book launch tomorrow. It's like, so why are you still here? I was like, I don't know. Why am I still here? I didn't have any of the printouts. Shit. So it was really like a roller coaster ride all the way to the launch. But we did it, and we did it well.
yeah. Thank you for this glimpse, by the way, into what the life of a writer who also has a day job is like.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, that's the struggle. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of authors, even not just indie authors, but even authors who are who work with a publishing house, that's something they can relate to. Especially, I mean, there are very few authors out there who make enough over their book sales for writing to be their only job. So yeah, thank you for that glimpse into the life of a writer with a day job, and hats off to you and your team. I mean, yes, it was rushed, it was clutch, but you came out with a good product that people enjoy. So great job.
Thank you.
Yeah. So actually, when talking about routine, you actually answered a lot of the next two questions that I had, which were about your world building and your research process. So you already really talked about that, and that was all really fascinating, by the way. So let's go ahead to the next question after that, which is, let's talk fan casting.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yes, so you've posted a lot on Instagram about your ideal fan casts for the characters. So let's hear it here in the live show. Who would you cast for Anya, for Chino, for all the people that you had in mind?
Okay. So I have a casting brief. Already joke. Like example, if a director comes, you gotta dapat advance tayo mag-isip, guys. So actually I said that in the book launch. Do you know why the hashtag is Tablay novel? I really foresaw talaga. I was like, I had this really big kutob. I had this kutob talaga na magbo-boom siya. I was magkiklik siya sa tao. So I mean, when building the book itself, I already wanted to foresee what would happen if it would expand to like a movie, if it would expand to a game. Like, think of it like the Tablay Cinematic Universe, the TCU. So we gotta dream big, So basically, I made the hashtag kind of like a sandbox. That's why it's hashtag Tablay novel, because I'm also seeing hashtag Tablay game, hashtag Tablay movie, hashtag Tablay comics and whatnot, whatever you have there. So if there were a movie, who would I want? Okay, first of all, possibly a
tabletop game. I would love that.
So Mikey and I actually met sa Manny Popcorn. So he's actually a game designer. If you know Pawikan Patrol, so Mikey, just plugging in your stuff. It's about saving the turtles. I mean, like it's really an environmental friendly game for kids. And not for kids, for everyone. And it really focuses on saving our endangered species. So when I met him, apparently, so like a war for a 40K, Warhammer. The game. So he does a lot of mech stuff. what do you call that? So anyway, I digress. Is that the word? Digress. Okay, so going back, if I had a movie, first of all, I want it in Filipino. Like, I mean, like, imagine like how we would bad comparison, but like a Train to Busan that just came out on Netflix. Now, I mean, it's in Filipino. It's made by a Filipino production house. Subtitles can be in English or whatever language you want. If it comes out to a different distributor. And the cast, okay. So I was thinking for Anya, it's a close fight between Rian Ramos and Nadine Lustre. Um, so no, I was thinking kasi between Nadine and Rian because they both have that Morena beauty. Like I love them so much. Pero I feel like kasi Nadine I feel has that seriousness, but Rian has that spunkiness of that Anya can pull off, and at the same time they have to be ranged. So I'm leaning towards Rian now, but she's a bit, a bit like older, I guess, because Nadine's just her age. She's just 24. So ayun. So actually Nadine, I've worked with Nadine. She's one of my talents for one of the things. She's very quiet and introverted talaga. Like even on set, she doesn't really talk to people. But I mean, that's okay. It's okay to be introverted. But I feel like Rian's a lot more fun to play with. So Rian, I'm like for Rian as like at 89%, and I'm for Nadine at like 85. So it's a close match. For Chino, no game at all. Like it's Aaron Villaflor. Like that is my non-negotiable. Aaron Villaflor. Because
I
first of
totally
all,
100% agree.
like first of all, he's like my celebrity crush. So it's gonna be Aaron. Like I was like,
honestly, I feel like if you just upgrade, like if you sent his character in General Luna to the future, like
yeah.
don't change anything about Joven Hernando except for the style, because you know it's 300 years later as opposed to 100 years ago, and you know the use with technology, but like maintain the character of Joven Hernando, and that's it. That's Chino.
And just make him a bit more geekier that he goes around, you know, doing these computer shit. So yeah, that's him. Okay, my second non-negotiable is for Papa Albert Martinez to be Nicanor. Oh my god.
Yes.
Okay, so I have this thing for grizzled daddies. So he is like a grizzled daddy. So yes, I would like. Okay, Albert Martinez, I have so much respect for you. So sorry I called you a grizzled daddy, but like that is the essence. He has to be like Nicanor has to be like a silver fox, but at the same time he has to be charismatic, but he has to have like this dark side to him, which I think Albert can pull off because he was si ano, what's his name? Robert Mondragon sa Kadenang Ginto. Diba? Pwede siya. And then,
halos all of his characters, like whenever he's in a teleserye, his characters are always like that. Like they're silver foxes. They seem very charismatic and very friendly, but may secret silang my dark secret, and they're not actually good guys. So yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yun. So Albert Martinez. Okay. The next in command is what do you call that? See, Commander Datu. So Colonel Datu. I would go for this very Charlize Theron sort of character. Like she's gotta be she's like an aged beauty, but she's a tough gal like that. So grizzled daddies. Okay. There are more grizzled daddies. Lumberjack daddy plus old man Logan.
Old man Logan.
For that too, I would go for. I was really thinking of Sherry Hill because she could pull the medyo antagonista, but like tough lady. Like I've actually, it's interesting to watch her like be in a mech. I mean, who's ever thought of Sherry Hill being in a mech? What? And like she would lash out at people. Like if Sherry Hill would call me a second-rate, trying hard copycat and spill wine on me, I would thank her. Like That's who Sherry Hill is. But I mean, I was thinking of my friend brought up recently that Agot Isidro could be a possible that too. So I was like, pwede. But a tough lady. Yun. Next, oh, this is my other favorite, my other bias in Tablay. I'm so sorry. I have favorite characters. They're like my favorite children. But of course, don't tell the other characters I said this. So Surgeon Parazo is also one of my favorites. Oh, Papa Bench, we love you. I would pick AJD. So AJD, if you don't know, is actually the brother of Reb Reb. Si Reb Reb. So,
Si Reb Reb, favorite ni Mama.
Just to digress, one of the most useless things I have in my head is the monologue from Four Sisters and the wedding. Ma'am, sorry ma'am, nagkaroon kasi ng Christmas fair. Isa ako dun sa mga guro na tinanggalan ng trabaho kasi sabi nila, hindi daw ako magaling.
You know the scene where kinaladkad si Mo Kauson on the floor.
Yes.
That lives rent free in my head.
Some days you just think about that.
Yeah, Angel Locsin really is a hero for the people.
We gotta play these videos and get us through the hard times. Yeah. So so AJD, what I like about him is that he looks like the quiet, introverted type that you're like, ooh, yes. I mean, like that's the only. I mean, I feel like he could play Parazas, and the guy that he doesn't really talk much, but when he talks shit, it makes so much sense, and like he's just that quiet father figure that you would probably look up to and do shit like that. So yun, and he would be really hot in a plug suit. Yes. Sorry, sobrang puro physical stuff. No, but they can act. They have range. Totoy. Actually, here I'm struggling because I don't know if Iggy Boy still looks like the Iggy Boy that I see in the Google images. I hope he didn't age so much, but I would pick Iggy Boy Flores because Totoy is the comedic relief character in a sense. I mean, he's basically Tablay's only happy character. I mean, everyone else is so miserable, which basically just reflects that point in my life when I was very miserable, and that's what I projected onto this story. Yun! Okay. So, it's either that, or actually my friend, the voice actor mismo of Totoy, his name is Jose. So, yeah, he's one of my friends from school, and he's like, Kat, you know what? He's an actor today, so he's like, Kat, you know what? I would literally audition for Totoy. I was like, sige, gusto mo? I'll put you in the short list na. So, who else? So, Tita Clara, I would pick Mother Dawn Zulweta. I feel like she's she would have like grace, and she would have like seriousness and like love. So I would like her as a mentor figure. For Shally, I would like
her voice would be perfect for like. I mean, even if it wasn't like her voice is perfect for the role. Like the way that she speaks, it's very malambing.
Oh.
So yeah, I agree with that one.
For Shally, I would pick Angel Aquino because she can be like sass, but at the same time she can be like creative and fun. So yun. And then finally, I don't know, because I was so tired now. I was going through all the characters. But I think for Ethel, we could go for Mega, Sharon Cuneta, because she could be fun and spunky, but then she could really dish out to you like what she does for ano. Did you see her shiny video? She was like, shiny! Yeah. She was showing all of stuff. Like I stand Mega. Like I really do. Yun.
I love her. And every tweet that she ever has is just golden. Especially when it's like when she's tweeting and interacting with her daughter, with Kaki Pangilinan. All of those tweets are just so hilarious. Like just as a segue, when the whole ABS-CBN thing went down, she tweeted like, "Oh, I don't have a job na, sad face." And then like she asked Kaki if she could be Kaki's intern. And then Kaki sort of responded like, yeah, come to New York. You can be my intern.
No.
I love her. I love
I
her.
love Mega. Yun.
Yeah,
So those are my
I hope you get your dream cast because this sounds perfect. I would watch this movie. I would watch the hell out of this movie. And you know who knows? I mean, um Philippine cinema has made Wattpad novels into movies, so why not your book, right?
yeah. Definitely. Like super aggressive. I mean, in terms of marketing, I'm really like super aggressive, as you can see, with all of our stuffs of age. Like I really prepare pitch decks about the book, so in case that I come across like someone, pitch ka agad, like tak tak tak. What do you think? Like, don't hold back, guys. Like if like this is my message.
Yeah.
If you have a good idea and you have a good story to tell, like don't be afraid to share it to the world, because people will always appreciate it. And like what's so great now about technology, especially in this age, I mean, even if we're going through this hard thing called, I mean, the pandemic, there's so many ways to share your story, like whether that be Wattpad or web novel or even comics. Like just post on Facebook, like it gets so much traction. So don't be afraid to share your stuff, because you will always have admirers, whether that be people who say it out loud or like people who talk about you, like even if they don't show it, they really appreciate it.
So I am going to be working on my WIP after this live show. I am so inspired right now.
What's your story about?
Sorry?
Secret? What's your story about? Secret?
Secret. No, but that reminds me. I've been meaning to ask you. And a lot of diaspora Filipinos have come into my mentions every time I talk about Tablay, asking if it's gonna be available on Amazon soon. So do you have plans to like make it an ebook? Because there are lots of people who don't live here in Manila asking like, okay, how can we get this? Is it gonna be available as an ebook soon? So do you have plans for that?
Yeah, definitely. I actually tried studying, because I have to study it first. Because aside from it, being just putting it online, there's a lot of business aspects to it. So I have to figure out, like at one point when I was trying to do some Kindle Direct Publishing, because I actually signed up now for Kindle Direct Publishing, so I'm planning to upload it talaga. Like there's a lot of stuff like as in I mean, it's back end business stuff that we have to deal with. So let's say like when it comes to tax gating, it's a lot harder. I wish that Amazon was really had like a regional office here, because there's a lot of processing that has to go in it. So currently we're still studying, but yes, I definitely want to push for ebook. I know some of the people that I am going to contact someone soon. I'll slide into your DMs if you're watching, because I know you work for Amazon. So I'm gonna ask help for you for that. But yes, I feel though that I'm still on the fence about whether for the ebook I should, because I understand from a lot of the feedback that there were some Filipino lines that didn't even have context. Actually, when I was writing Tablay, I didn't really imagine it to be like a worldwide thing. It felt like more like a comics industry thing that I felt like was more for the community. But then I realized now at this point I really want to share it with the world then. So I'm really still consulting whether or not baka I'll add like a rough translation after the Filipino line, or do I keep the line? Or you know how sometimes when there's like a translation in their own language, like example, mahal kita, he said, and then there's like an italicized I love you, yung mga ganon. So I'm trying to figure out the nuances of how to go about it if there's an international version, para at least they're not struggling with understanding what the context is, or using context clues. I don't know.
I find it helpful to read when with that concern. There's a whole bunch of books um, that keep the lines in their language, and then they like have context clues or the italicized translation, or even the meaning is understood because like the person being spoken to replies in English. So a allows the writer to keep the line in their language but still convey to the reader what they mean. So
Yeah.
I've seen it used in the YA book When Dimple Met Rishi, which is there are a lot of lines that are in the Hindi language,
Yeah.
and there's no translation, there's no like glossary at the end, but because of the way that the characters respond in English, you're able to understand what the author is
Yeah.
saying. I've also seen it used in Wicked as You Wish by Rin Chepeco, which I'm currently reading. There are a lot of Tagalog lines, but they're not translated. There's no
Yeah.
italicized translation, but you got the meaning because of how a character responded. So that might be helpful for you. And yes, there is people are saying keep the Tagalog lines. Yes.
Yeah, I would want to talaga, but yun. So at least I know the references. So if I wanna tweak it a bit, yun. Thanks so much for that.
No problem. So actually, thank you for bringing up like writing in general, because my next question is actually very craft like it has to do
Okay.
with like your writing process. And basically, so what does your current writing environment look like?
Ah,
Is it ideal? No. And how do
God.
you like prepare? I mean, you mentioned already some of the research that you had to
Yeah.
do. So like what else did you do to prepare or to help you with the writing process? So just tell us about your process basically.
Uh, oh, okay. Oh, right. Sorry. Init eh. Wait, I just moved the fan. Can you hear the electric fan or no?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Because init, because I have this like little lamp, the light, so that it's good lighting. It's really hot. So okay, pre-write, some people kasi, I mean, we all have our different writing styles. I know some people are more spontaneous, like they'll just dive into chapter 1, tapos they'll start writing, tapos bahala na to see how it unfolds. There's some people who work that way. I'm really a structured writer talaga. So I have to make sure that all the plot points are there. So I do sentence outlines. I would sentence outline the shit out of the book before I proceed. So I actually I gave a talk about this, the how to write fiction. It goes through an equation because some people think that okay, it's more of a heartfelt thing. Chucho. I'm an ENTJ, by the way. What's your MBTI type? Wait.
I am an ENTP.
Ah! Very good. So I felt that. I felt that vibe. Okay. Um, what do you call that? I would go through a process. We love process. Okay. So I would first go with the premise. So I did a lot of it's like doing a thesis statement first. Like what do I want my book to be about? And then that's the point where I made the premise, I made the log line. I pinned down all of the lessons that I wanted to learn, that I wanted readers to take away from the book. After that, I did world building first, actually. Not,
Ooh.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I had to figure out what was for Tablay kasi. I had to figure out what was uniquely Filipino and what could I do with that if I wanted to translate it into a sci-fi thing, no? So that's how my thought process went. So it was like, what is uniquely Filipino? Our mythology, right?
Mm-hmm.
What else is uniquely ours? Intramuros. I mean, have you seen an intramuros anywhere else? I don't think so. So basically I was like, okay. Um Intramuros, but make it sci-fi. How would that look like? That would be like a citadel city, right? The typical, I mean, the thing is about sci-fi is, of course, you will always find that tropes. I mean, everything is basically a remix of each other, all of the stories you've read, but like, how do you really tell it to make it your own? So if it was in Intramural, sci-fi version of that would be New Intramuros. It would be a citadel city that had like steel walls. Think of it like a Panem sort of citadel, right? Think of it like a, what else is like an Anthem sort of city in Fort Tarsus, but then make it sci-fi. And then for the aswangs, um, what if there were mechanized versions of that? What if there were a lot of like Imagine those were the enemies. So these are all the thought process I went through, and then after that, I started fleshing out the world because I wanted the playmat to be set before my characters, landed on them. So that's when I decided. I really fleshed out like, okay, so there's going to be a central business district, and then okay, there's going to be camps, and then of course there's going to be barangays, and then of course there would be what's the government system, what's the economic system, is there religion involved? So basically, it's just really like, you know how in D&D you have to
I was
create.
gonna say, lumalabas yung pagka-DM mo.
Oh no! So that's how I did it because I had to understand the adventure first. Like I had to dive into the adventure before I let the players into the game. So that's how my DM mind worked. And then after that, the next thing that I thought of after the world building was the characters. So given this setting, what kind of characters would fit perfectly into this plot? Into this world. So I thought, of course, we'd have the mech pilots because oh my god, like I love mech stuff. I mean, I really wasn't into mech until like 3 years ago, but after that, like I watched a lot of what's that? Okay, Evangelion was my biggest inspiration for I love Ava. Like Ava's like one of my until now, even if it's a 90s show, a lot of the themes really resonate with what's happening. I mean, that's how you um benchmark what kind of shows are timeless. Like I was watching Full Metal Alchemist the other day, I was watching it again. I was like, shit, this thing is so good. I can't believe I used to watch it in grade 4. And it's so dark pala. Like I didn't realize. Like actually Full Metal Alchemist was one of the references then, like in terms of the military intrigue. Oh my god, Mustang and Hawkeye, like I love them so much. King Bradley, I realized King Bradley was actually one of my influences for Nicanor.
Oh, I see it. I see it.
Because
I
he's a
really
daddy.
He's a daddy, just like
Actually, Nicanor, if you watch The Dragon Prince, Viren is also one of the Viren is one of
I
the
have been meaning to, so thanks for giving me an additional reason to check it
Yeah.
out.
So I did that, and then so I knew there were going to be mech pilots. Of course, there would have to be the R&D team to kind of like balance out all the violence. And then, of course, I wanted to really feature regular people. So that's why and that's what the core of what Tablay is about. It's about realizing that heroes aren't necessarily the ones that fight off in the war and all these dramatic feats. Kasi a lot of times we glorify these people, but then we realize the real heroes that make that the real heroes are the everyday people. I mean, the people are the heroes. It's not the ones that we put on a pedestal. So that's what the Bly is about. So we've had everything from journalists, diba? Si Ethel. We've had professors. We've even had, imagine, like even the regular. That's why I featured a lot of people in general. A lot of my set piece scenes have to do with large crowds and people working. For example, like when Nicanor gives his speech to the crowd before they set off for Operation Bakunawa. That's around chapter 11. I love featuring random people like diba, like this random soldier to my right starts throwing up, or you see these random NPCs like Mr. Olivares and Mr. kumakain ng fishbowl sa side lang dun sa kanto ng street. Like I love featuring kasi like one of my hobbies talaga is I love taking street photography. Like that's one of my hobbies. Like I really love giving slice of life feels. Like if there's anything interesting, I would really want to go into that. So that's what I want to do. So once I had the character set, and of course, like any writer, I would project my own self into the characters, and actually, um, a lot of people were saying now that the characters. Okay, so this is the thing about writing, kasi everyone has their own opinion about the story. So some people believe that the characters, of course, I read all the reviews. So some people really appreciated the characters in the sense that they felt real. Other people said that it felt flat. So of course, we respect all of those views. But what the end point is, like I made the characters after people that I knew and people that I loved, so they felt real. Like actually, a lot of the interactions in the book were basically things that happened to me, and I just translated it into
Sci-fi.
into a sci-fi genre. Because I mean, when I wrote it, cause I wasn't really writing it with the intention to please people. I mean, it was really more of, because like I said, I wrote Tablay in a very like dismal and dark time of my life. Like I didn't have I really didn't have a channel to express my grief or my concern or all this emotional baggage. So that's when I started writing it. It was kind of like an escape or a way to try to project my feelings and my emotions into something. And I was like, how can I turn all this emotional baggage into cold hard cash? And then I realized that, if I'm sad, at least I'm rich. so so
Let that be the key takeaway from this live show. If
Yeah.
I'm sad, at least I'm rich.
So that's what happened. Hey, we sold out. We sold out the other week. Yeah.
Isn't this a second reprint though?
So that first reprint was around let's say 200 copies.
And you
So
sold
yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Nice, good job, congrats.
Thank
Love
you.
that for you. So when is the next printing coming out?
I said that we had sold out, and then everyone kept. There were so many people sliding into the DMs in the order forms. I was like, oh no, I don't want to lose these people. So I asked to reprint it kaagad, pero I made it a band-aid solution that I just asked for an initial 50 other books, so at least I could do that while waiting for the other ones to hop off the press soon. So for this, because I mean, after some time, also like looking at the trends and the figures, like it bursts at some moment and then the sales kind of slow down, then it would burst again. So the last 2 weeks before Weekathon, so thank you so much for for that. You are my business partner too, Kate.
Yeah.
To some respect, you are my business partner because for some reason, dude, the sales just skyrocketed when you started promoting Weekathon. I was like, oh my god, ang daming tao nag-inquire. So I was like, we must we must we must milk the cow while it's still
I am so glad that Weekathon was able to contribute to your sale.
like honestly, I'm really so thankful because actually my parents don't have jobs for like a month and a half. So I've been okay. So they're both doctors. So I mean, in a sense that they what do you call it? Aside from them going to work, it's really hard now because you don't always also want to be exposed. So at the same time, I was like, I have to find ways talaga to. That's why I've been really aggressive the past few months about Tablay. Is that it's actually a very good source of income aside from it being a book. So we gotta make ends meet, but at the same time, we love sharing content to all of our fans and viewers. So thank you so much. Actually, I took a big leap. I mean, I never knew about the Philippine bookish community since like 2 months ago. I was like, my friend just said, Kat, you should check out the Instagram. The Instagram is their booktubers. I was like, oh, really interesting. So I was like, and then I was so surprised that there was such a flourishing community of book lovers. Like I really thought patay na ang mga books or patay na ang mga comics sa Philippines, diba? Kasi it feels like nowadays that everyone's on social media. I mean, it feels like the love for reading is dead. But I realized that after finding this thriving community, a lot of people still appreciate like actual physical copies of books, and like it's so alive, especially on Twitter, especially on Instagram, na they really take time to digest these materials. And like I'm super lucky that I found this community because I mean honestly, like I didn't really realize that there are people like me. I mean, I really love reading books, and to find and to find people who actually really want to have a discussion about like fiction. Like I thought you were all gone. It's like finding the airbenders again after thinking I was the last airbender, man.
Yes, we're not dead.
They're not dead. Bring back the
Yeah.
airbenders.
You're not the last airbender. Don't worry about it. Thank you for bringing up though that you love reading, because my next two questions have a lot to do with that. And basically, what have you read like a book that just completely and totally inspired you to do better with like your writing? And I mean, like, you read a book and then you thought, okay, you know what, I'm going to write Tablay. I'm going to write, and I'm going to be good. And after that, is there any like TV show, book, movie, whatever that you would consider required reading for like someone who wants to explore sci-fi, whether in film or as a book?
Okay. Books that have. Can I talk about books that have changed my life in general first before I?
Of course.
A lot of the times, I mean, a lot of the times, a lot of nonfiction books have done me more service than fiction books, honestly. Like my favorite book of all time is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, if you've ever heard about that. So it was a required reading actually for school, but I never really treated it like a required reading, because it really felt, you know how we all have this English teacher that changed our life sort of figure. So this was fourth year high school, and it was a required reading for class. Mrs. Escasa, our English teacher, she gave us this story of, it was the story basically of a Jewish prisoner in the Nazi camp in Auschwitz. So it was the story of Viktor Frankl, who was a psychologist, because I really love psychology too, like everything about personality types, to how the brain works, and really studying the psyche of people, especially during troubled times. He talked about, it was very inspiring to the point that it was almost physical. Not physical. What's that called again? It was very philosophical. It came to the point that the story, it's not a story, it's a biography. The biography was very philosophical to the point that it was bordering spiritual, because he was talking about suffering, and he was talking about how we need to be worthy of our suffering, and like we should think of, I don't know, you should really read it. I really loved it. It was about how even that he was suffering, he made the most out of his life, even in the Jewish prison camp. He was also talking about how the last freedom of mankind in general is the ability to choose. So it's the ability to choose to make the best of our situations, and it's really about how to find happiness in the darkest of situations. So you should really read that if you're feeling lost. My second life-changing book is The Little Prince. I love The Little Prince. Like, I really look back to it even until this day. I feel like Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Diba? Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. He talks a lot of adult concepts, but in a very digestible way. Like even a kid, I mean, sometimes, kids ask questions that are so hard. Like, sometimes kids ask questions that are even more complex than what adults ask. Sometimes they're even deeper than what adults ask. So like, he talks about how people find love, but it's possible that they find love but not at the right time, and that's what brings people apart. He talks about how we lose our own child self, diba? We lose our childhood, and we lose the joy and wonder of life because we grow up, and we shouldn't lose that. So those are the kinds of books that inspire me. For talking about the books that really changed the way that I write and look at sci-fi in general, I would suggest reading Ender's Game. Ender's Game is a very good cult classic if you're looking for mil sci-fic, science fiction. What else? I would suggest. What are the other books that I read that helped me write sci-fi? Um, I actually like reading a lot of Jules Verne. So Jules Verne is a classic. Things 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Trip to the Moon, and then because Verne uses a lot of. That's the one that you're talking about, Nona. It's a bit heavy, like if you don't understand scientific concepts, because he talks about gravity and atmospheric pressure and stuff like that. Even his, I was like, okay, move on. I respect the Jules Verne because he was pretty good. Captain Nemo was a good antagonist.
I did love that. 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea is one of my favorites.
I have this for fun. I mean, for me, it's a 3.5 out of 5 on my scale. But I read Mecha Samurai Empire. I mean, it feels like a joyride lang. Parang it feels like a Ready Player One. That it's very cash. It's not like deep sci-fi because he's just talking about. Actually, have you watched Man in the High Castle? It's a really good. Okay, so basically, I would suggest that for because I love doing political thrillers too. Because political thrillers are one of the themes that happen in the book. Then, because there's a lot of intrigue. You watch Man in the High Castle. That's one of the good political intrigue things. So the story is, and it's the same thing that happens here. Imagine if the Axis powers won World War II. So imagine if the U.S. is now divided into the Third Reich. The Third Reich is like the German Nazi side of the U.S., where they're headed by the Nazis basically, and then to the Pacific states are basically like California, West Coast, but it's like headed by the Japanese. So it's like German and Japan, and then inside is in the Midwest, that's the neutral zone. So basically, what happened in the story is that the Allied powers actually won World War II. So the US actually won World War II, but they had an entire media blackout. So the US doesn't know that the US won. And Germany and Japan are taking advantage of that by putting the entire US in darkness. But the thing is, the story of Man in the High Castle is that there's an underground movement that has the actual tapes, the reels, the journalism reels to prove that the US and the Allied forces won the war. So what they're doing is they're making an underground revolution of distributing these analog tapes around the US to the citizens to prove that we win. So it's a lot of action, political intrigue. So I would suggest that. And that's the same here with Mecha Samurai Empire. Parang what happened was United States of Japan. So basically the Axis powers won again. Then there's a lot of mecha fighting. But yun, so that's what's happening there.
Yeah. So Moe said that she loves that you can enumerate books to recommend, because if that was her, she would be like, I
would suggest for more of like World War I, II stuff, you read The Face of Battle by John Keegan. It's an old book. I actually just found it's what's that called again? I found it's a book sale. I love going to book sale. You know, just finding all of these old like obscure stuff. The Face of Battle by John Keegan.
The Face of Battle by John Keegan. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm taking that down. Got it.
What I love about this book is that it talks about the psychological aspect of a soldier during war. So it goes back to Waterloo, like it traces in the Battle of Waterloo in the 1200s in the French. Then it talks about World War II. It's like and that's what I studied. Like, what would a soldier feel like in the midst of battle? Like, did you know that like when you're in battle itself, you really get demoralized when one of your officers like die right in front of you. So one of the stories there was really tracing ano yung psyche ng person after losing like a commanding officer. And then that's what I took inspiration from when alam mo na yan. Beep mo na yan. Okay. So
you almost spoiled.
Yun, read the book na lang. There's this other one.
That was a real Tom Holland moment right there.
Okay, I gotta keep my mouth shut. You know, I can't keep secrets. Okay, another one was the guy who fell out this is from The Secrets of War. This is old Cubao X book that I found. So it's really interesting biographies. There was this one, the story of the man who fell out of a plane from 10,000 feet and survived. So that was the that was the story that I took inspiration from. Um, Remember when what happened in chapter 12 when and then she was like, oh, so there was a moment there. There was a moment there where she was like, um, at that moment, they say that your entire life flashes before your eyes, but the truth is it doesn't. All you think about are like a close circle of friends and all besides the regrets that you have at that moment. So that's where I took inspiration from. So it's really from real life stuff. Yun. And actually, just to segue, I mean, like, just to add to that, I actually took a lot from my family's own personal experiences during World War II. So it's super interesting because my paternal grandfather, so on my mom's side, his family was from Pangasinan. Okay, so they actually experienced the bombing, the Japanese dive bombers.
Kat, wait, I'm sorry. That's so funny because I'm from Pangasinan.
Wait, where are you from?
San Carlos.
I'm from what's that called again?
Ligayen?
No.
Ligayen?
Binmale.
Binmale is so near to San Carlos. It's like a 10-minute car drive.
Oh, we're related. Oh my god! I found my relatives. Okay, so are there Fernandeses do you know any Fernandeses in that area, like neighbors? Because we have a lot. Okay, so I'm gonna dive into. I love explaining history. I love the thing. So I don't know if the Fernandeses were a big part of Binmali. I've had my forefathers, my my forefathers before me were very active. Especially like my paternal is imagine. So my paternal grandfather he was the 18th child. Oh God, he was the 18th child of this man called Don Jorge Fernandez. We don't know where he came from. We're still figuring out like what his lineage was. But they lived in Binmali, and that whole town of Binmali, especially towards the fishery side of it. There's a lot of fisheries there, mga bangus farms and everything. So apparently that general area. So it's a short walk to the beach. I think that's Lingayen Gulf, no? That general area.
Yes, Lingayen Gulf, yes.
And that was the Lingayen Gulf was the one that the Japanese bombed, right? So during World War II, we have this ancestral home in Binmali, and so they were there. Like my tito would tell me, sorry, if that's your lolo's brother, is that considered a tito or is it like a great uncle? A great uncle. So my great uncle was like basta yung lolo, yung tito ng lolo. Basta okay. So that my lolo's brother, he really tells us all of these fantastic historical tales. Na imagine every night they would have to turn off their lights, like not a single light in their house, because the Japanese would know that they're there. So every night you'll hear the Japanese planes like making patrols over Lingayen Gulf. And at one point that ancestral house was bombed. So they had to hide in the rice fields, okay? Like they had to hide in the rice fields, and my lolo and his siblings had to learn how to smoke at the age of 6 years old, just so that they can keep the mosquitoes away from them, so they don't get malaria. So they hide in these foxholes for a few times. Then my lolo, my paternal grandfather, actually served as a captain in the Philippine Army Reserve, and he was the one that he actually joined the Death March. So it was so interesting because he was the one that he started from point zero of the Death March, which is around Bataan, right? Mm-hmm. And then they'd march all the way to Tarlac, Capas Tarlac. That was where the prisoner of war camp was by the Japanese. But he actually faked his death, and that's how he survived. He was so smart. So what he did was he fell to the side of the road. Baka naapakan siya or something. But I guess he survived that.
and then after that he had to, it was so interesting, he had to strip off all his, like, his fatigue so they wouldn't know that he was a soldier. Then he got captured by the local Kenpitai yata.
Mhm.
So then we had to talk to one of our relatives now that had to bail him out of jail. And then one of my lolas was part of the was part of the katipunan. So I was like, wow! As in, warrior siya. As in, meron kaming bolo sa sa ancestral home. I was like, wow, this is so interesting. So it's really interesting to look back at how all of your forefathers were intertwined in history, and you
For
can just draw
history, yeah.
so much things from that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just to share, I had pretty much the same reaction when I found out that my great grandmother on my mom's side, so the mom of my lola,
Yeah.
she had actually joined when the Americans first arrived in the 1900s. She actually joined like there was like a small guerrilla force that
Wow.
escaped into like the Cordillera. And she actually
Then,
joined that. So like, oh my god, my great great grandmother
mhm.
fought Americans. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Oh,
As in,
it's
just
so right. Family history is the best thing. Um, One last question before we go to the bonus question that I'm sure
okay.
everyone is dying to find out. Um, so you mentioned actually political thrillers, but I'd like to ask: is there any other genre that you're interested in diving into other than sci-fi, or any other plans that you have currently?
I actually do, yeah. But I feel like it's more of like a passion project for this can I say this perpetual purgatory that we have of a lockdown. Um I've always wanted to dive into romance books. I mean, as I mean, like, I'm like, that's my weakness. Like, I don't know how to write romance. So I mean, I tried it a bit in Tablay. I know it didn't fly. I mean, because okay, I'm saving the saucy parts for book 2. So so you're gonna see more stuff there. But I'm thinking of doing, like, I've always wanted to challenge myself to do some rom coms, some light slice of life. If we were to compare it to like an anime, I've always wanted to try to write like an Oran high school sort of drama. I'm thinking of writing a book like that. Actually, I'll share it because I feel like it's gonna go public soon anyway. Because I've started writing it. Okay, so this is the premise. Like, okay, the past few weeks, I've been getting Lala Move deliveries at this address, but it wasn't addressed to me. So I'm like, why is this person keeps on pinging my house? But I'm receiving all of their deliveries, all of their online shopping. So I was like, who's this person? And then I realized, oh, what if I create a story that's a romance, but it's like romance fantasy na super light. Now this girl falls in love with this anonymous person through his stuff that he sends through the wrong address. So it's a very, for example, but it's kind of fantasy then. So it's this girl who receives magical items because, like, imagine like mga apothecary items or like crystal orbs because apparently the guy is a wizard or something like that. Parang think of it like Howl's Moving Castle plus You've Got Mail. So so ganon yung vibe niya. So I was thinking, like, it's very light na okay, one day she just receives like a crystal orb and she's like, okay, this isn't mine. Like, who's doing this? And the more parang she gets to know about this anonymous sender through the stuff that he's bringing wrongly to her house. I don't know if they're gonna meet or some shit like that, but it's very like Sleepless in Seattle times Howl's Moving Castle times You've Got Mail. So ganon
Right.
yung
I hope you finish that book because I would buy it. Like, put my name down for a copy, like right now. Please finish this book. I need it. That's so cute.
yeah.
I would love that. All right, so we're down to our final, the bonus question that I ask all the Filipino authors that I
Yeah.
interview, and that is, what is your favorite ulam?
Oh, oh my God. I don't know. I have so many. What do you eat? Okay, my top favorite foods are adobo flakes. I love crispy adobo flakes. I would eat crispy adobo flakes with red eggs. Crispy adobo flakes, red eggs, and tomatoes. And then I would dip the crispy adobo flakes into pinakurat.
Oh my god, now I'm hungry.
We actually had longanisa for breakfast. So I was like, that's almost the same thing. I mean, in the same thing as in you eat it with red eggs. Oh my God, I'm so paused. Okay, I love sinigang. Yes.
A
Um,
classic.
but what I like sinigang with, I mean, have you tried the manam watermelon sinigang? The
Yes! It's
Yes,
my favorite! Oh my god.
I love Manam's. Not advertising for Manam, but yes, Manam's sinigang short ribs are really good. I like their inventive stuff. I also love tofu, so tokwat baboy or tofu sisig, especially like when it has a lot of mayo and what's that called again? Yung sile and bell peppers. That's what I would do.
You know,
Um,
when you said mayo, I felt the entire province of Pampanga cringe.
so they don't have their
We
sisig
don't.
with
Our seafood doesn't have mayo, and I know several Kapampangan book bloggers would be like, they're very
yes.
vocal about mayo. So when you said, "Oh, I love sisig with mayo," I felt the entire province of Pampanga cringe.
No. Yun, okay, but I also like sisig without mayo, so it's your choice. I take that back. Okay. I love spicy lechon from Cebu.
The
And
best.
what is my last vegan longganisa? That's my favorite longganisa aside from vegan is my god tier longganisa.
Oh,
And
mine is
then
lukban.
my next one was gonna be lukban. So I said god tier and then awesome tier is lukban. I'm so sorry, but my meh tier is the hamonado. I don't
Oh,
like it.
same.
I don't
It
like it.
doesn't, I don't hate it, but it doesn't slap as much as vegan and lukban longganisa.
I like my longanisa's garlicky and like
Same,
flavor. Yeah.
same.
And then
Yeah,
for dessert,
food talk is making me hungry.
what's your favorite dessert? Your Filipino dessert. What's your
Ooh,
favorite?
dessert. Bibingka.
Oh, okay, okay. I,
Especially if the margarine on top is all melty and there's lots of salted egg and it has lots of cheese. Favorite.
I like it when it's hot. And the cheese definitely. I love for dessert. I love buko pandan salad, especially when it's cold. And sapin sapin and peachy peachy.
My favorite peachy peachy is the one that has lots of cheese on it.
Like Amber's, yeah. We would order that. Yun. So those
All right. So that's it. That's the last question that we have just in time for lunch because all of the food talk is making people hungry. Thank you, Kat, so much for coming onto my channel and having this interview. And thank you to everyone who came and watched and asked us questions and gave us comments. If you missed this live stream, it will be available soon on my YouTube channel right after this, and I will update the description box with all of the relevant links to Tablay. So get your orders in because the books are running out. Buy, and
yes.
if you want to find out what were those moments where Kat and I were like, oh, wait, we can't talk about that. If you want to find out what those moments were, go buy the book. Before we end the live show, Kat, do you have anything to promote? Anything to say?
Please buy the book, guys. Aside from that, oh, okay. So if you want additional content of the Bly, like if you've read it but you're still looking for additional content, you can check out our IG page, and our Facebook. But what I like about the IG page is that I curated the stuff talaga, and it's visual. Because in Facebook, I share a lot of other posts related to mecha and sci-fi. So parang natabunan yung mga main stuff ng Tablay. But in the IG page, you can check out our radio play it's a full 8-minute radio play with all the voice actors. And since we don't have budget, I played Anya. We have a really amazing cast. I don't know if some of them are watching, so hi guys. We also have Tablay After Hours. It's like little vignettes of what would happen to the characters after work. So like we have stuff from let's say Totoy is making cuento about like what he's doing when they're out for a night at a bar, or like Chino is calling customer service because the glasses he ordered online are broken. So those kind of things. Or so aside from that, we have our upcoming National Heroes Day. It's a big thing for us because that's when we launched our official trailer last week. That was actually that was almost last year. Did you know that? So it came out August 26th, our official trailer. I wanted to align it with National Heroes Day talaga. So this National Heroes Day, watch out for our surprise stuff. I'm so excited for it. I've already started editing it because syempre, I have to be the editor din because we don't have anyone else in the marketing team. Yun. So watch out for that because it's in Filipino. I translated that. And what else? Yun. And just keep updated for all of our stuff and our events because I'm really excited. And there are other stuff that I can't talk about because it's still confidential, but we're in talks with people for other adaptations. I just can't make it official unless we sign a contract. So yeah. There. I also, guys, I hope that you also support Weekathon because the last few days and even past Weekathon, you can still support Filipino authors. You know, we have so many great books and great content. I mean, we don't come on. Let's not limit it to Buwan ng Wika to just keep on to search for it. I suggest that, you know, if you want truly Filipino content, please look at the comics industry because I'm very active sa comics industry. We have such great content. Even those independent stuff like the ash cans, may that be the recently, just to plug, I got this. Oh, I was actually one of the winners for the Trece Global Edition. Hi! So Sir Budge, am I allowed to do this where I share the interiors of the page? So
share it.
Okay. I'll give you a live view of. So this is what's coming out in the international edition. So this is the Indiegogo. This is the Indiegogo one that Sir Budge and Sir Kajo thing. So I met them. Okay, just to give you a background, Sir Budge and I think Sir Kajo did, we work in the same industry. So we work in advertising. So it's a very small knit community. Like we're mga 10,000 lang as advertisers. So we know each other. We actually met in the 4A's Creative Fest. It's like an advertising convention, and he was one of the speakers. And I was like, oh my God, I have to meet Budget Tan because he's like one of my idols, right? So I didn't know him then, but I was like, I have to be aggressive. No, be aggressive, right? So I literally just went up to him. I was like, hi, Sir Budge. My name is Kat. And then right there and then, I pitched to him Tablay. I was like, you know what? I have this story. and then I just went because he actually inspired some of the Blyden because with his crime noir sort of fictions, I was like, I have the story, and with that kind of kicked off our friendship. And I added him on Facebook, and then I got so kilig when he started sharing the Tablay stuff, and then he even shared the Tablay book launch Trece page, and I was like, oh my God, he's such a tito, he's so nice. Anyway, I faked my sick leave so that I could see him. Basically, I used one of my sick leave days. I called in sick and I went to the Trece Secret Gathering, and that's where I won the raffle. So Louis, if you're seeing this, I'm sorry. I committed another act of treason against the company, but here I won, so that's okay. So if you look inside, this is what's going to be in the global edition of Trece. God, it's so nice. I'll skip to one of my favorite pages there. It's so good from the original ash can of from the original ashcan of Trece. So that's how it looks like. Yun, the pages are much more nicer. There. And what else? Basically, just support, guys. Support all the Filipino authors. I think Kate timed out.
Yeah, sorry, my net went out. My bad. Sorry, what were you saying? Did you show off your...
Yeah. I basically just showed the interiors of the pages of the global edition, and it's coming out soon, so please support it then. And support all of our local creators, guys. If you have friends, I mean, you don't even have to pay for anything. All you have to do is literally just click the share button. It doesn't hurt to like share your friends' works, because imagine all of the international sensations, whether that be Trece, your favorite bands, your favorite stars. These were all once local acts, right? You have to start somewhere. So please support, especially our own.
That was the great message to end our live show on. So everyone listen to that. Go support your favorite Filipino authors and creators, the comic scene, the book scene, your favorite Filipino creatives, even if it's not Buwan ng Wika. So I think that is it. That is the end of our show. Thank you again, Kat. Thank you, everyone.
Sure.
And we will see you next time. I will update the description box with all of the links to Tablay. So go get your copies, listen to the live show, wait for the events on August 31. Yes. So see you all. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye. Ending the broadcast.